Maybe you're a Mac or Windows user, but you've heard of this thing called Linux, and you're kind of curious what it's all about. Maybe you're not super technical, but you've had it with the spinning beach ball of death, or the blue screen of death, or having your every move watched and reported back to the manufacturer of your operating system, or being rendered completely helpless as Windows decides that just before your big deadline is the perfect time to update your system for a few hours. Or maybe you've just heard really good things about Linux and you're ready to try something new. There are lots of different ways to get here.
Back in 2011, I tried this new thing called a Chromebook. Actually, my first Chrome OS device was a Chrome box, but a Chromebook followed shortly thereafter. Coming from the Mac and Windows universes, I loved how Chrome OS could boot up in 7 seconds, how incredibly fast it ran, even on super cheap hardware, and how it never seemed to crash, lock up, or even stutter. It was like my computer faded away and all I had to worry about was getting my actual work done. It was beautiful.
But there were so many limitations on what it could do. I yearned for a computer that had the zip and stability of Chrome OS, but that would also let me post my high-res images, and let me run my complex multi-track audio sessions, and edit 4K video.
And as a bonus that wasn't wasting valuable computer power reporting my every move to the Windows, Mac, or Chrome OS motherships. I mean, I get that knowing how much time I spend in this app or on that website or how much of my work is being done on a cabana in the beach in Hawaii is valuable information, both to the computer system makers and the people they sell that data to, but it's really none of their business.
The eureka moment for me, the moment I realized that I could have the best of all worlds, was when I read that Chrome OS was just the Chrome browser running on top of Linux, and that Linux could run precisely the kinds of apps that I was needing. It was the Linux that was so fast and stable. Chrome OS had just restricted it tremendously and made a little spy out of it. So my next step was obvious. I needed to throw Linux onto a machine, take it out for a spin, to see if it, without too much fuss, could do the kinds of things that I needed it to do.
It turns out it can and does. In fact, these days, Linux can be so easy and has so much great software available for it that nearly anyone can switch to it. This is my Linux desktop, at least as I have it set up this morning. You'll notice I like a hybrid of the Mac and Windows desktops, but as you'll see, Linux is surprisingly flexible. You can make your desktop suit your needs and your tastes. You can make it look exactly like the Mac you've been using for decades, or like a Windows machine, or something completely different. In real life, I have a large 4K screen, so I prefer the way Windows application menus stay with their programs. I don't want to have to slide my mouse all the way to the top of the screen every time I need a menu item. I'm a fan of the Mac's dock over Windows' space-hungry taskbar approach. But I like to save as much vertical space on my display for actual programs as I can, so I put the dock up where the Mac application menus would be. But that's just what works for me. There's no reason you have to do any of that. Linux and Linux desktops have a lot in common with Tinker Toys. You can go as crazy as you want, swapping out this and that to make a system as you like. I'll start you out very simply, but for now, just know, if you want to play, you're no longer stuck in the one-size-fits-all world of the Mac, Windows, or Chrome OS. The various modules that make up the Linux world generally play surprisingly well together. Let's peek very quickly at some Linux software. Here's an awesome photo editor. This is a great video editor which I'll use to cut this video when I get back from lunch today. And here we have a full-featured Office suite, including word processor, spreadsheet, slideshow maker, and so on, all of which can effortlessly open and save all of the popular Mac and Windows compatible file formats you're used to. So if you're comfortable with Microsoft Office, you'll feel right at home here. There's even an app market like your phone has, full of all sorts of other software, easy to search and simple to install with just a few clicks. And Linux is remarkably secure. Nobody's putting software on or taking software off of your computer without your password. Any updates can also be installed here, but only when it's good for you. Anytime after this little icon turns red, click it and it'll show you the available updates. You can decide when the time is right to load them in. When I'm in the crunch of a deadline, I'll happily ignore that red icon until my project is safely out the door. No forced waiting on updates for me. Here's a nice calendar that syncs perfectly with your Google or other online calendars. This is a full-featured app for email. There's software to store and organize your photos and music and videos, and they work whether you're online or off. This is a multi-track digital workstation. If you're used to Pro Tools, this will look familiar to you. Steam runs on Linux with tons of games. Not as many as on Windows, but for most people, more than enough. Back to the desktop, over here we have a very organized drop-down menu you can use to launch programs. If you have a lot of programs like I do, it can be easier to skip the menu and just start typing the program's name. You can launch it right from the list that appears. Even faster, you can just start typing the name of the document you want to work on and select it. You can install Linux on PC or Mac hardware. Installation is easy, and these days, with few exceptions, it runs great on most everything. Maybe I've just been lucky, but no problems on literally every machine I've tried.
Next, we'll do a step-by-step, going from nothing to a completely installed Linux system.